All right, ladies and gentlemen, today's guest, Phillip Morrison, a missionary, basketball enthusiast, someone I connected with through seeing an Instagram video and reacting to it, and now he's here. And I'm excited to have this conversation as someone that grew up hooping and playing basketball. I never quite understood the origins and the very interesting Christian tie-in. And so he's going to break this down. Phillip, appreciate you being here, man.
Hey, I appreciate you. Thank you for having me in here. And
yeah, man.
Just the steps, man, these divine connections to get here, man. So I appreciate you bringing me in.
So you're here from Louisville doing some basketball missionary stuff, clinics and that sort of stuff?
Louisville, Kentucky. I'm here with my brother, Joseph Lewis. So he's got part of the NBA All-Star Weekend, kind of the whole basketball world's colliding right now in L.A. So we're doing a coaches ministry clinic, a couple other things, and then, man, most importantly, connecting with you. So,
Amen. Yeah. Amen. Well, I'm glad you guys are here. Okay, so I want to get into some of the stuff you guys are doing with basketball and the missionary side of things. But before we get into that, you got to break this origins of basketball to me, which is very interesting because it almost sounds too good to be true at times. And then you go and look it up, and it actually is very verified that basketball started as like a missionary tool. So,
this is how we connected, man. We connected because I found out I played college pro basketball overseas in 6 different countries. I had never heard this. Even when I started sharing it with NBA players, NBA coaches, like people that are fanatical about the game, I realized they had never heard this story. So I had to do my research on it that, you know, basketball was created in 1891. And it was created by a man named Dr. James Naismith. Most people know about like the peach basket and the soccer ball and everything, but what they've been lost is that he was a Presbyterian preacher. And a big part of basketball was it was created as a ministry and a discipleship tool. It was created to share the gospel. In fact, you know, it spread all over the world because of Christian missionaries in the YMCA. Back before it was a gym, the YMCA was a missionary sending organization. He actually taught them this game, and that's how it spread globally, was through Christian missionaries early on. Even on his application, he has that famous quote, "to win men to the master through the gym." And that was the purpose of the game of basketball, which just completely blew me away because I think everybody knows like basketball is a very spiritual game. There's so many correlations, right? Most teams have a coach and 12 players, you know, with the numbers of Jesus and the disciples. And if you really want to get to know somebody and connect with them, man, you just hoop with them. You know, it's one of the purest
who someone is on the court is who they are for real.
Hey, that's real talk. And listen, and I can say this, Joseph can say this, I played with a lot of players and coaches that did not speak English. And it didn't matter between the lines. It didn't matter. You didn't actually. So you can go to any court in the world. You know, how I got started was in the slums of the Philippines while I was playing over there professionally. I could go into any slum, you know, they call them squatter areas. And it would literally be dirt courts in the middle of like a garbage dump sometimes. And it was pure. Like the love for the game is pure. And so I think that's the beauty of the game that has transcended every culture throughout the age. But the roots and the origins of the game is basketball is a ministry.
Yeah, I love that. And you talked about the YMCA. Many people don't know that YMCA means Young Men's Christian Organization, right? And so, or a association, Young Men's Christian Association. And that movement came out of the muscular Christianity movement, which was intended to use sports as a way to teach men discipline and structure and order. Now, can you elaborate more specifically on basketball? Wasn't there specific reasons why he designed the game to be more accessible versus other sports that had a higher barrier to entry with equipment needed or whatever you might need, right? Basketball was like an easier way to really get poor folks to play.
Yeah, you know, I listened to actual interviews with him and read some of his articles, and he's up in Springfield, Massachusetts. So it's freezing cold. They can't go out and play football. He needed an indoor sport. And most importantly, you know, originally there was a stick in the game. He was obsessed with these 13 rules to start out. But he took the stick out of the game because he said he needed a sport that was accessible, or what he would call like a poor man's sport that could go all over the world to developing countries, primarily for missionaries. And what you'll find right now, this is what blew me away, is as I got into more missions work, they were already doing that. It's still like one of the primary ways missionaries connect in villages or communities is basketball or sports. And I think that is the conversation that Naismith was dealing with then and we're dealing with now is there a line between the secular and the sacred? I argue that there is no secular and sacred, that every good gift comes from the hand of God, you know, James 1:17. So I think that was one of the big issues, but he intentionally made basketball very simple, very replicatable for missionaries, especially in third world countries.
Okay, tell me about the stick. I've never heard about the stick before. So there was a stick, and where they would try to use the stick to make the shots, or what was going on?
If you peel back, big vision, he said, if I have a stick in the game, it will become an expensive game, like golf and tennis, a rich man's sport. He said, I need a poor man's sport so that missionaries can carry this game all over the world. You know, because he was the first college coach at Kansas University. He brought in the muscular Christianity, which was, you got to think back then, like churches didn't have gyms like nowadays. In fact, they looked at musical instruments as evil. They looked at sports as evil inherently. So there was a big divide. And the stick was mainly just getting the ball out of the goal originally, you know, and they played with different ideas. You know, fun fact, you know why the rim is 10 foot and it's never changed?
No.
So they had a peach basket. They just hammered it up to this track and they measured it and it just happened to be 10 feet. So they said, let's just keep it at 10 feet. See, if it would have been 9, bro, me and you be 360 dunking in. But we got
a whole different game.
We keep it at 10 now.
The WNBA would be very interesting if it was 9.
It'd be like slam ball, jumping off trampolines. But no, he kept it at 10 feet. And so there's all these interesting things that no matter how you slice this and you look at how the game was created, you can see God's hand on even the smallest little details of it. And it's why I think it's still one of the fastest growing sports in the world.
You talked about 12 players and one coach.
Yeah.
Was that intentional on his part?
Man, was it? You know, I sit there and I look at how spiritual the game is.
Yeah.
You know, you said it. Like, if you really want to get to know somebody, you don't have to speak their language. You can get in a pickup game on the court and y'all don't know each other's name. You know, I saw a funny viral video of a wife tripping about. So pickup games, you don't know it. You just walk there and we get it. Once you get on the court and you hoop, you know, there's that connection there. And I think that's one of the most spiritual parts of the game. I don't think, though, 12 players and a coach, there was anything to it. Because obviously it just happens to be traditionally every roster has 12 players on the roster and then your coach. And you got to remember, from the origins, he said it was a tool for discipleship. To holistically develop young men's mind, body, spirit. Yeah,
that's so cool. I mean, I would say even in my journey so I grew up in a whole nother country, came to the United States at 6 years old, and then discovered basketball almost immediately, right? In the early 90s, like this is like basketball's really taken off, right? So this is the Michael Jordan, the first era with the Bulls.
That's my era,
before he retired. Yeah. And then he retired, which was crazy. Like, he's playing baseball now, right?
Yeah.
Then he comes back. And so when I moved here to North County, Vista, I grew up a couple miles from here. It was when it was his last season with the Bulls, the one that they did The Last Dance on.
Okay.
And so I just fell in love with basketball. And it was a thing that gave me a safe outlet away from getting into the trouble I was getting when I was in San Diego, and then just giving me something productive to do kept me from getting into street stuff and getting into crime and all the stuff I was doing in San Diego, which was really interesting to, like, when you describe all this, really interesting to think about it in my own journey, right? Now, I have an addictive personality, so when I'm into something, I go all out. So I was the kid with the jump soles on the court.
Okay.
I was buying the how to improve your vertical videos. Like, I was really, really all the way out. But for me, it's interesting because it, like, in a way became an idol, right?
Absolutely.
But it also kept me from getting into trouble. And then when I came to faith, I've had I would say a reorienting relationship with sports and training and all that sort of stuff. When do you think, and how do you think the game evolved? Or how do you think the origins of the game got lost? right?
Yeah.
Like, how do you think it went from this like awesome missionary tool to for some people, like ball is life. And that is all they care about, you know? And so they'll spend, you know, sometimes that of a part-time or full-time job a week playing sports. And it's not their job. It's just, they just like pick up. They're up at 4 a.m. every morning. They won't read the Bible, but they'll go hoop at 4 a.m.
Absolutely.
You know, before work, and then they'll go hoop after work. Like, when did this thing evolve into something that wasn't just a missionary tool? I mean, granted, I love that it's so massive and it's so big, but how did that drift happen? And then when did people lose its origin story?
Yeah, you know, I think the conversation revolves around coaches. I don't know if you ever had a coach in your life. I think everyone's had a terrible coach. But if you have a truly impactful coach, everybody in sports ministry knows that quote from Billy Graham: a coach can have a bigger impact in 1 year than most people have in a lifetime. They live and die by that. AIA, FCA. I used to think about that and not really understand, because again, you're focusing on a group of 12 kids, right? Or 12 players. But the truth is, true discipleship, you know, Jesus spoke to the masses, but he focused on 12. He spoke wide, but he went deep with just a few. And I think where we've really lost that is that the whole point of the game of basketball is it's been more about what I can gain from it. You know, the thing I found fascinating about Naismith was he never made any money off the game. He never trademarked it. One of the reasons why the game evolved, like think about dribbling. They didn't dribble the ball in his time. That wasn't in the rules. He allowed it organically to grow because he said, this is a gift I'm giving to the world. And when people get obsessed about Naismith's vision or how it came about, I'm like, he's a vessel. You know what I'm saying? Like, he gave a gift. Now, I've always said this: wherever there's cheese, there'll be rats. If there's a way to monetize something, there'll always be situations where people come in. You look at the NBA scandal here recently, the NCAA gambling scandal. ESPN has pretty much gone in with sports betting, and you're seeing all these issues. And I think what's so powerful is over 100 years ago, Naismith predicted all this would happen. He said that coaches would get so obsessed with their ambition to win that they would spoil the game for kids. He said, quote, that players would become cogs in a machine because they would be over-drilled. They would lose creativity, their ability to enjoy the game and love. And you can see it, how it's unpacked over the years. So I really think the conversation starts and ends with the coaches. And it's the reason why I've shifted from just focusing on players and doing camps and everything to now building a community, doing missions work by pouring into coaches who then pour into the players. I think that's going to be the most effective way to redeem it.
When did they introduce dribbling? Do you know approximately in a timeline?
I don't know the date that they actually introduced it, but I think the most fascinating part of that is that, again, Naismith could have trademarked this thing and made all this money. I mean, dude, he had a losing record as a coach. You know, it was never meant for the ambition of winning, making money. He always said that it was about building character, life skills. And ultimately for him, it was discipleship. You know, it was to bring men to the master Jesus through the gym.
What's wild about basketball is like when I got really into it, you could see older videos of like, I want to say it was like Dr. J, and it was before they had a 3-point line in the NBA.
Yeah. Right.
So we've seen the game evolve multiple times. So they added the 3-point line, right? And then wasn't dunks at one point illegal, and then they started allowing
because
dunks.
of Will Chamberlain,
And so I've seen footage of the game evolving, but then like to think about like before dribbling was even a thing, like that's even more fascinating. In terms of the monetization thing is interesting because I got an acquaintance, a friend, I'll tell you who it is off the record, who is one of the most elite betting experts. He's not a Christian, and he's one of the most elite betting experts that basically has a community where he's giving his predictions on how things are going to go. And he's so good that he can't even use these platforms. So that's how wild like the betting platforms is. It's like you can get so good they'll just kick you off and be like, nah, you can't even you can't even gamble with us, right? But to your point, that scandal last year rocked the community to know you have the mafia involved, and you had all these crazy things.
You got NIL now too. So what is the end goal of when you're selling a child? I think, and you know this just from the church world, man, whatever you catch them with, you got to keep them with. So if you take that into basketball and you're selling a child on money, you're selling the kid on your worth and your value is in what you can earn. Your identity is in your performance, not that you're a child of God. And that now we're getting away from not just the origins of basketball, but the conversation in general of the gospel. Like, why am I here? What is my worth and my value? Is it in the numbers that I get? Is it in the scoreboard? Is it in the accolades? And I think we just keep going further and further down that road. You know what I mean? And that's where I'm just kind of like, I think it's so important to tell this story again to the next generation. And the love for the game is still there. It's still pure. The game's not going anywhere. It's only going to grow. All I'm doing is that there's so many really good people out there, man. They're like grassroots coaches, trainers, hoopers, and they know this game is spiritual. They don't know the story. I think that's why it's so important. But man, why I thank you just for today for giving a platform to remind them that no, the game was given through a vessel. James Naismith, I'm not exalting that man. He's like any other man, but it was a good gift from the hand of God, and every good thing comes from God. So it's like use that as a platform to, you know, minister to people. You know what I mean, and make an impact.
It really is something to think about. Like, this man made, like, he thought of this thing that so many of us have spent countless hours trying to perfect and get better at and master and enjoy. And then there's nothing like that. You know, when you get that right run with the right guys, and they're not way better than you, but they're just slightly better than you, where you could actually compete, right? And they're not so trash that you're just like, oh man, like we're just like, what is it? So there is a very heavy spiritual component to it, and to think of like a dude 150 years ago coined this thing, and his intent was, hey, we want this to be a missionary tool. That's really wild when you just say that out loud and just let that sit, you know?
Well, the humility of it to let it go. Not say it's mine. One of my favorite stories is when he was much older, Naismith was going to a speaking engagement. He stops at a gym just to watch these two teams scrimmage. So they needed a ref. So one of the players walk up to Naismith and say, hey, can you referee this game? And one of the players go, hey, that old dude, he don't know anything about the game. And they skipped over him and went to somebody else. And we know about this because he wrote it, he journaled it. And he said it made him smile because the purest thing for him, you got to remember, before this man died, he watched it become an Olympic sport. He watched it in front of a sellout crowd in Madison Square Garden, the game he created before he died. But the purest part of it was he could pull up to any gym, any court, and sit there and just watch people enjoy a game that I truly believe God gave him. And that we're still enjoying today. And it's, for me personally, I've run multiple camps, coaches clinics. I've seen many times the Holy Spirit move in a gym. Again, no divide between sacred and secular. And that's why I say when I step between the four lines, that is my sanctuary. I've seen people come to Christ right there. I've seen people be healed or restored right there. We've taken people from the court down to a pool into the water and baptized them right from the court. And that's what I'm really trying to get to when I'm sharing this story, is it doesn't have to be like I'm trying to do a good job and pour into these kids and invite them to church. When I'm saying, hey, bro, me and you, we are the church. Where does the Holy Spirit live? You know, we're the temple of the Holy Spirit. So when you come into a gym, treat it as such. Like, that's where you get to minister. Like, that is your ministry. You know what I mean?
I want to hear more about some of the stuff you do in terms of the mission stuff. But before we get into that, just tell me what you think about the game in general in terms of where it is now, right? You're way more experienced and seasoned at it. I saw a massive shift. I think we all saw a massive shift, like from the entry of Jordan to the retirement of Jordan to the 2000s and the N1 era. to now I guess you can kind of call it the 3-point era.
Yeah.
Where it's like, they're shooting so far out.
Yeah.
Which from one standpoint, I think kind of opens the game up to more people. Now the WNBA is interesting, right? Because it's not just about dunking and who's the most athletic. It's also about shooting, right? And Steph kind of changed the game. So where do you think the game as a whole is within the last 30, 35 years you've been keeping up with it or so?
Yeah.
Talk to me about that.
So the game shifted and transitioned even when my last couple seasons playing overseas, when I got introduced to analytics. So I did a TikTok and a reel on this recently. If you take the shooting chart of the NBA from this last season to 20 years ago, it's incredible. So the top 300 shots for the whole season, now everything is within 5 feet. These are dunks, layups. Every shot, there's no more shots in the mid-range. Everything is around the arc. The heaviest spot is the corner threes because those are the closest ones. So you're in the age where we're trading threes for twos. Like you can shoot mid-range pull-ups because that was my bread and butter, like mid-range pull-ups, floaters. The analytics-wise, because the game is so long and you get so many possessions, they're just getting up threes. And I think you're seeing this frustration with people that grew up in the 90s or the early 2000s of like, they don't like watching the game anymore because it's just people chucking up threes. But again, like you said, they're shooting from so much further at a much higher clip. That's where the game's going to continue to go.
Okay.
And so really it's more about defining a skill set. You know what I mean? So the secret of playing like college and pro ball, if I could take you back and I'm training you as a kid, I would say your goal is to develop at least one elite skill. That's it. Become a specialist. That's how you go further in the game of basketball. So become an elite shooter, elite defender, elite rebounder, and that's how you're going to be the most successful in the game. So that's kind of where the game is right now.
Yeah. Well, so in the era that I grew up in, it was a lot of driving and a lot of just getting to the basket, which, now I'm 41 and they were like, why don't you come play with us? It's like, bro, my knees is jacked up, bro. What are you talking about playing? Like, I got to go get a cortisol shot, because I'm so jacked up. Like I've blown out my right knee. I've had multiple surgeries on it. And this is on some, I got cut my sophomore year in high school. Like I'm not an athlete like that, and just playing the way we played.
Yeah.
It has done a lot of wear and tear on my body.
Facts.
On my knees specifically, not my entire body. So I don't mind that they're shooting further out because my logic goes, well, they're probably going to have way longer careers and way less damage on their joints shooting and learning to shoot than constantly driving and attacking the hoop.
Yeah.
And in the mid range, you're still having to cut through and get to a place, which I think increases the likelihood of injury. I mean, is that a fair assessment, you think?
Yeah, but you got to think too. So anyone who is 6'2" and under that's watching this that loves basketball, if you're 6'2" and under, you cannot play or move up at a high level if you can't shoot.
Right.
It just changed the game for that standpoint. So if everybody is closing out on 3-point shooters, you still need the one dribble pull up. It's still valuable. But I would definitely say you're not going to have as many of those like driving injuries, ACLs, things like that. As you see now. So, yeah.
You think that's why we're seeing like a LeBron, his longevity get pushed into his 40s, and he's slowing down a bit, but he's still operating at such an elite level.
Yeah, I mean, he's the exception. I don't really like, if you talk about Jordan, LeBron, these guys are, so much of a freak athletically. Work ethic obviously is there and taking care of his body. I just don't think he's a good comparison for any human being.
Okay.
Do
you think that the average player in the NBA is going to have
definitely
more longevity because of how the
look
game
how
is
extended
shifted?
the prime is now.
Yes, that's what I mean.
Oh, dude, Steph is still. It was you, Steph. He'd be a better example. He's still in his prime. And these
Steph is in his 30s now too, right?
He's 36. 37, yeah.
I mean, didn't Jordan retire at 37 when he was with the Bulls the second time, right? He was like 37, 38. And Steph seems way younger and way more agile than Jordan did in that last season. That's probably going to get me dragged.
But conditioning-wise, Steph is still one of the most elite.
Yeah,
he would be a better comparison to a Ray Allen at this point. And that's why when if you took Steph off the ball and just let him roam and shoot, he could play another 5 years if he wanted to. He's in such great shape. He's so elite. So to your point, I think definitely the game is going to keep moving that direction of like being able to find shooters, but really just become a specialist. You know, you need everybody in a row, regardless.
Do you think that'll extend out the career of someone in their 50s potentially still being in the NBA? Who was that was in pretty older, the quarterback? Gosh, what is it? From the Patriots. Wasn't he pretty...
Tom Brady.
Yeah, wasn't Tom Brady older? Like,
yeah, he was 45, I think.
He was up there. So you think we're going to see that play out in the NBA, where you might see a guy in their late 40s, early 50s playing?
If LeBron wants to play in the Philippines, I guarantee he can play.
I'm talking about the NBA, though. Like, LeBron, how many more seasons do you think LeBron got in him?
In him? I think emotionally, probably 2.
Emotionally? What about physically?
Physically, probably 5.
5. So do you think we'll see more folks late 40s, early 50s playing in the NBA? Like in 10 years from now, with the advancement of technology, the game shifting, evolving?
Definitely late 40s.
Late 40s.
Yeah, definitely.
That's a trip.
That's crazy.
If you think about it, that's a trip.
It's just, man, being a pro, and man, I was by no means like a high level pro. I played overseas. It's the grind mentally, emotionally of being a pro. That's the thing of like getting up every day and climbing that hill. Yeah. That's to me the most amazing part about someone like LeBron or guys that play along. It's just mentally, emotionally committing to the work every day. Yeah. You know, that's just, you gotta really love it. Yeah. You just do.
Yeah. You think Bronny and him gonna get some actual playtime together and have some moments before it's all said and done?
I think it a little bit. I think they're gonna play more golf than anything else. But yeah. I see more golf clips of them together.
Yeah,
but
I want that as a dad for him. Like, I really want that as a dad.
Well,
for him.
he's talking about sticking around, trying to get Bryce, his other son, in there. But it's cool, man.
Bryce is like high school, right?
Nah, he redshirted at Arizona this year.
Oh, okay.
So he's a freshman. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So he could be there.
Possibility. You know, I haven't got to see him, but yeah, possibility.
I heard Bryce is better than Bronny.
And that's up for debate. I don't know. Yeah. I like Bronny, man. I like Bronny. His game. It's just the spotlight's on him so much. Yeah, it's tough.
That got to be hard.
Yeah.
You see that video of there's a little kid that gave LeBron a little piece of paper with a Bible verse on it, and then he posted it, and it was Isaiah. That's what's up. Yeah, it was dope. You didn't see that?
I didn't see that, but I've got to know behind the scenes a few NBA players over the last couple years, just from the connection of the origins of basketball. And there's a movement behind the scenes of people really being prayerful, sharing the gospel, you know, because that place, I haven't been into it, but I've talked to many people who have been in that scene. We got somebody in the room, Joseph, he was in that scene. And there's a dark cloud over it. And so to have guys in there that are a light, you know, I've talked to a couple that they're really being intentional about, you know, sharing their faith and encouraging guys. But it's tough, man. That's a different world. Yeah. It is a different world.
Yeah, I got it right here if you look at the screen next to you. So yeah, this little kid handed him, it says, so do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am with you. And LeBron shared that, Isaiah 41:10.
That's cool, man.
To his Instagram story. Said that's a great quote. Yeah, he said it spoke to him. So I thought that was dope, man. I thought that was really cool. Tell me a bit about your story. So you played overseas, you played college ball.
Yeah.
And then how did you go from being a professional athlete into pivoting into doing the stuff you're doing now with the ministry and the missionary side of things?
Yeah, I got a wild testimony with basketball. I quit it a couple times. I was that atypical perfectionist, always beating myself up on just a roller coaster of emotion, trying to find my identity in basketball. So it led me down a road of really just quitting, depression, different times, but I stuck with it. And that's a whole story in and of itself. But me and my wife, after my last year of college, I was an All-American at Asbury University.
Oh, yeah.
Where they had the Asbury Revival. Yeah. So that's where I went. And then they had never had a player that played pro basketball from there.
Uh-huh.
But I got contacted.
What year was this? What was your last year?
2011.
2011, okay.
So I got contacted by a scout in the Philippines. He found out that I'm half Filipino. So he's like, hey, man, after my junior year, I was named an All-American. He's like, if you move out to the Philippines, this is before NIL. He's like, we'll pay you under the table, give you a car, give you an apartment, and then you could go straight into the pro league. Well, that was not even in my radar, but I thought, well, let me research this league real quick. And I'm like, no, I think I could play in this league. So my senior year of college, I trained like I was going to be a pro basketball player. And then
where is the Philippines in? Because I always hear people talking about going to Europe.
Yeah.
Where's the Philippines in the spectrum of that?
So Southeast Asia, all of it. I played in the Philippines, Singapore, Vietnam, Thailand, Malaysia, and Indonesia. They're all Southeast Asia.
Okay.
And
as a married man.
Yeah.
Did your wife go with you?
Yeah, she did.
What was that like?
Amazing.
Yeah.
See, people don't realize this. Basketball is bigger in the Philippines than it is in America. My first game was in front of 54,000 people in a soccer arena.
What?
54,000 people.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And the game over there is more beloved than even in America. This was so beautiful about basketball once you see it. They play 24/7. The slums, any courts like that. My home gym, I'm from Louisville, Kentucky, home of Muhammad Ali. My home gym was the big dome where Ali fought Frazier, the Thriller in Manila. So I had all these unique connections back home. But when I was playing overseas, I got connected to some missionaries out there. And that was something I was really praying about, bro. I was like, I don't want to waste this platform. So me and my wife go out there. I'm playing in that league, going through some disputes with my pro team, club team, really frustrated. So I just committed to, you know what, man, things aren't going my way right now. Let me go with these missionaries. They keep bugging me to go with them. Man, I went to a place with them and it just changed my life.
When you say go with them, you just mean like just go do some like evangelism work or like go to another country?
Like literally they would pick me up in a Jeep and we would drive into what we call the provinces, the different ones.
And these folks spoke English or what was
they can speak English. Yeah,
okay.
Philippines is very Americanized.
Yeah.
And we would go down there, and it's kind of a mix between English and Tagalog.
Okay.
And so we'd go. Here's a crazy thing. We didn't have to advertise a camp. We would just pull up with basketballs, get out. Any court, hundreds of kids would come because they gravitate around this court. That's why I think it's so beautiful. It's like it's the ultimate place. Everybody's hanging out there. They're karaokeing. They're hanging out, doing stuff. We would just start doing a basketball clinic. And for them, it was like surreal because you had a pro player like in their slum or in their makeshift gym or whatever. And I just started doing that and they would ask me to share my testimony. And here's the biggest thing that stuck with me about that time. They had something that I didn't have. I was living in the 52nd floor of a hotel, playing pro basketball into arenas. And man, I was miserable. Like it was so frustrating. I was focused on playing time and my contract and all. But when I got back to ground zero, they had no shoes, bro, filthy dirty, holes in their clothes. And they had a pure love for the game, like what I had lost. And God used that to bring me back to like, oh, no, this is why you brought me here. I'm really not that good. Like he maxed out any talent that I had. So I was playing pro basketball between practices and games. I would go with these missionaries. I committed to it. I told them I wouldn't say no as much as I could. And that's how I basically started our program, Hoops for Christ, was right there, starting out with the missionaries. And that's how I got into it. And this is before I even knew the origins of Basketball Story. That didn't come till 5 years later when a missionary hit me up through TikTok and told me the story. And I didn't believe it at first.
I didn't believe it at first either.
I read a book. He sent me a book. I read the book, did the research, and I was just blown away. And then it's like everything. I'd always treated basketball like a ministry. Obviously, my program's called Hoops for Christ, but I never put those two together.
Yeah.
And every time I tell that story, I mean, bro, here I am with you.
Tell me more about like playing ball overseas. What was that like? How how competitive was it? Where did you rank in that level of elite athleticism? Like, did you do well? Was it hard? Like, I want to hear more about that because I think that sets up your discontentment probably for losing your love. That the Lord probably used to set you up towards seeing it as this amazing missionary opportunity that you're doing now.
Well, I'll say, every man wants significance and importance. For me, it was like I wanted to be a pro basketball player, and I accomplished that. And the thing that I thought was a dream actually very quickly became a nightmare for me because all my identity and joy was wrapped up in performance. Well, what do you do when you can't perform anymore? And there's injuries. They go with someone else. They string you along. You know, a lot of people look at overseas like something glamorous, but it's a different kind of grind. You're in a different culture. So many times different language. Like I said, I played a year in Vietnam. None of my teammates spoke English. So it's just, you just really, it has to be about the basketball, but you'll find living overseas, playing overseas, a lot of times it's about everything but basketball. Like basketball becomes the outlet. That's just your joy to get out there and play like you had as a kid. But there's so much always swirling around with contracts in your club and, you know, drama and politics. That's real everywhere that I think people don't realize. Like, you don't go overseas for the money, you go for the experience, you know. But I was fortunate. I made good money while I was playing for those few years. But I think more than anything, it was such a blessing because it brought me into the chapter and the stage of life I am now, you know. But amazing experience. Got to travel the world with my wife.
Yeah. What country would you say had the best degree of basketball that you went to? Philippines?
Philippines is the second longest running league in the world behind the NBA.
Okay.
We have a lot of NBA.
I'm always hearing Europe. Like, Europe is where people go.
No, Europe is a whole nother level. Like, so let me preface this. So the Euro League is probably the best basketball in the world.
Okay.
Now, the best players in the world are in the NBA.
Right.
But the purest, best basketball in the world would be like over in Europe.
Okay.
You know, and there's a lot of different sub leagues from that, BBL. There's different ones. But then you go over to Asia, I would probably say the most money, most well-known would be China. And then outside of that, a lot of Middle East, there's some really good basketball on down to, you know, in Southeast Asia, I think is maybe the most passionate. So you're not going to make as much money, but a lot of NBA, I had a lot of NBA players that come over as imports. You know, you're allowed a certain amount of imports on each team. And so I
like come over like as their career in the NBA ended, they went over to Asia?
Some guys, though, they're good enough to play in the NBA. They're just making so much money as an import. They just choose to play country to country as a hired import. Basically a hired gun to come in, be LeBron for about 2-3 months, and then move on to the next gig.
And I'm assuming because in the NBA, they're not getting as much burn in playing time?
Yeah, you understand. NBA, like, the NBA is about mastering a role. That's why when people leave the NBA and they go overseas, they're like, oh my goodness. I just seen a clip of like a center, like making a move and a step back. He's in the NBA. You have a role. You have to master a role to stick into the NBA. The NBA is comprised of like 30 to 40 superstars, and then everybody else around them is a world-class specialist. You get paid millions of dollars to do one thing at a world-class level, and we got a long line to replace you. It's very, very hard to stick in the NBA, no matter how talented you are. So a lot of these guys, basketball enthusiasts will know what I'm talking about. Point guard named Mike James. If you know Mike James, you're a hooper. All-time leading scorer in the Euro League. Barely get a sniff in the NBA. This is one of the most skilled human beings to ever touch a basketball. Like, skilled up there with Kyrie and Steph. But it wasn't a good fit in the NBA.
Really?
No. Wasn't a good fit.
One of the best point guards in the world doesn't fit in the NBA.
Might be the most skilled human being on the planet.
Okay.
Outside of Steph and Kyrie.
Interesting.
If you know the Hoopers, just go look a highlight film. It doesn't even look real.
Yeah.
But there's every team has an import guy who is incredible. Another one is Kendrick Nunn. Kendrick Nunn was a little backup on the Heat. Couldn't get a lot of burn. I think he went to the Lakers for a little bit. He goes over to Europe. I mean, he looks like Allen Iverson over there. He's just incredible. It's just because you give him a green light. You give any NBA player a green light, they're just on a whole different level.
And you're saying in the NBA, you have these superstars, and then everybody else on a team is a specialist, meaning they're
just a role player.
They got a very specific thing they're supposed to do, and that's it.
Yeah, you like I hear with the Knicks right now, Jalen Brunson, love him. And then you got guys around him, you know, that are like a defensive specialist. Well, go back down to college and high school and look at their stats. They were averaging 35 a game. It's just they got to the NBA and they had to fit into a role. So now they become a defensive stopper, a two-way player, and might average 8-9 points a game. But it's just these guys are so good, it's hard for people to wrap their mind around how good they are if you just put them with anybody else.
Yeah. Yeah, no, there's definitely levels to it. I mean, I played with a couple guys, you know, at a lower college level, and I was like, oh yeah, this is this is intense, you know.
Yeah.
What do you think about this entire movement online with these sub communities creating content around street ball and they kind of taken like my man, the professor, kind of launched the YouTube sphere in a way with the basketball stuff, but there's like entire like leagues and these guys are arguing and fighting and it looks super intense, but the content seems to be going super viral and it's strictly like elite level street ball.
Yeah, well, I'd say N1, they didn't realize what they had. You got to think. Did you ever see the N1 Netflix documentary?
Yeah, of course.
Fire, right?
Yeah, it was dope. It was dope.
That was pre-social media, right? Now, I would say the professor, he made something out of it. You know what I mean? Shout out to Grayson. But now you have, the one big reason why I'm here is I'm here with my brother, Joseph Lewis, who's going to be playing in the off the dribble, you know, one-on-one battles coming up this weekend. And I compared it kind of to the same. It's like a subculture where it's a different style. It's more I've compared it to more like boxing because it's a one-on-one. If you see some of the videos, like the crowd's right there onto the court. And it is a very, very competitive.
It's very physical too.
Very physical.
Yeah.
It's a different style of ball. But so is 3-on-3.
Yep.
I mean, I'm huge into 3-on-3 basketball. I think it's the best development tool for kids over 5-on-5. But yeah, the one-on-one scene is really picking up, and I think it's only going to keep growing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Do you think that that's good that these younger kids can have a platform to make a living off a ball without having to go overseas or without having to aspire for the NBA or Europe? They're building audiences online. And I'm assuming they're getting, I don't know the economics of it, but I'm assuming they're getting brand deals. They got, you know, YouTube AdSense. They're telling these stories of like, this guy was talking trash to this guy. And then they had the one-on-one duel. Like, it's very interesting to loosely keep up with.
Yeah, I mean, I think, bro, you would be a great example of that. I mean, a lot of people are introduced to your music through a lot of your takes on different things. I know a lot of people are like that. So I think it's the same type of thing where people have a passion and a love for the game. And I think there is a career there. You know, everybody's a creator anyway in one way, shape, or form. And so I think basketball, it's really just a community, you know, people building different types of communities.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love where technology has gotten stuff where, you could have so many different subgenres within the sport.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting to see.
Yeah.
So tell me a bit more about like, what is your ministry now and what is the on the ground stuff that you guys do now? You mentioned basketball clinics. Just walk me through like, what do you do? How does it work? How can people support you?
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. So usually how I open it up is Mike D'Antoni was famous for creating the offense with Steve Nash and the Phoenix Suns called 7 Seconds or Less. And so I was challenged by a coach, like, can you sum up your why with the game of basketball in 7 seconds or less? And, you know, what I always went with is I use basketball to share the gospel and disciple. And so that's really what we're doing. Part of it is sharing that story. But I have a basketball academy back home in Louisville, Kentucky. And it's like training, leagues, discipleship, mentorship through the game of basketball. But the big shift that's happened over the last couple of years is on social media. I go by the name Basketball Missionary. And really, basketball has been the door for me to travel all over the world now. And we do it through camps, but a big part of that is connecting and equipping coaches. Anybody that has a platform to speak into a child or people, that's a ministry. So what one of my goals is just to support them, give them resources, and basically do missions work around that. So that's what we do.
So it sounds like you're doing the clinics, but then you're also kind of going after more coaches to build relationships with coaches.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So my next stop, I'm going to Charlotte to do a basketball camp and clinic out there. But a big part of that is like doing a confidence workshop. So speaking to a child's identity. And then right after that, I'm going to Kansas City to run a coaches conference. We call it Committed to the Gospel. And that's just a gathering, a small group of coaches, and we're just going to pour into them for 3 days, almost like a retreat. We do a little camp, you know, we get on court, but really it's sessions where we prayer walk the court. We give them discipleship tools on how to be a little more efficient in sharing their testimony, sharing the gospel, leading a Bible study, leading a prayer group. So it's just because coaches tend to like, practice plans. They like stuff laid out. Whereas me, I'm comfortable really flowing organically with the Spirit. But I know a lot of times they like having those tools to bring back. So that's a big part of what we do with our ministry.
That's awesome, man. And so would you say most of your stuff is locally, like if people want to check you out locally, or is most of your stuff now traveling and you're just kind of doing these pop-ups?
Yeah, we have people traveling to Louisville, Kentucky.
Okay.
And they'll train families and stuff. But a big part of what I do now is doing missions trips.
Okay.
And then traveling out to different programs to do camps and stuff with Hoops for Christ.
And so Hoops for Christ, if they search for it in Louisville, they can find you there?
Yeah, hoopsforchrist.org.
Hoopsforchrist.org. Okay, boom. Yeah. There we go.
Yeah.
This is dope, man. Here, you can walk us through the website. I want people to make sure they get hip. So this is kind of how it's all laid out.
Yeah, that's like our training. We got youth leagues, camps, clinics, and then you see at the end the CTTG conference. That is where coaches come in, from really all over the world. We'll have missionaries flying in, and we just pouring into them, for 3 days. We've had one in Spokane. We're doing Kansas City, Louisville. So we're trying to take it around to different places right now. So, yeah, man, that's basically what I do. And the bulk of how people find me is through social media.
Yeah.
And I go by the name Basketball Missionary and just kind of, sharing that platform of the origins of basketball through that.
Let me pull your Instagram up so they could check you out. Yeah, man, I was super intrigued. My guy Sergio sent me your Instagram. He oversees my Instagram, and so he sent me your stuff, and I was like, bro, this is so dope. Yeah, this is my little reaction to your video. Yeah, this is so dope, man. This is so dope. It's dope to see, one, you glue the history together for us, right? Into our, like, make it so robust in terms of like none of the origins of this, like everything you felt as a follower of Jesus with ball, like there's something to that, like that spirituality that's kind of hard to even articulate, like there's something to that. And then to see you say, yeah, and by the way, like these are the resources that we're providing, and this is like this, you're creating this world almost for coaches, for players, for young kids, and it's holistic. You're talking to confidence and you're talking to their skill level.
Yeah. And I'm very realistic because, again, if most people meet me, I'm a small white Filipino guard. It's not like I'm going to overwhelm you. And I played college and pro ball. So a lot of that is just like I can relate to the gym rat, like the underdog. So I'm very aware that the basketball part, the teaching part has to be excellent, and then that opens up the door to the ministry. You know what I mean? No different than music or sports. And so that's what we try to do really is just really meet them where they're at. Because what I found about basketball is when I'm training or developing a kid, it has very little to do with what we're doing in the drills. It's all mental, emotional.
Yeah, man.
It's all mental, emotional. Yeah. So, I don't even like people calling me a trainer because I'm like, man, I'm more of a counselor, a Uber driver. I'm a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
And you have such a unique go because you get to speak into their life. So it's such a fun thing when I see kids coming to the Lord, or I get to baptize kids and coaches, because I realized, man, basketball gave me that voice into their life.
Yeah.
Without that, we wouldn't have been able to connect on any level.
Yeah, I would say it is also knowing how to work well with other people. Like that was always the struggle for me.
Yeah.
Because I got into strength training early on. I was the jump soles, like the whole thing. So like the physicality of it wasn't the difficult. I was an only child. I wasn't originally from this country. And so for me, the learning how to be a team player and operate within a coach's system was always difficult. So I think you're also speaking to some of that as well. As like there's a broader conversation that's happening here that's communal. And if you could figure that out, then man, you could figure that out outside of basketball. Like that, these skills are transferable to life in general. Yeah. It's not. People may think like, man, this is just basketball. No. Like that's why the muscular Christianity movement was so important, because it taught young men what it meant to become men, and how to and those skills, the disciplines, the regiment, the focus, it's transferable to other areas.
Yeah, I've always said basketball is like a mirror. So when I look into a mirror, basically it's just reflecting back to me what's already there. If you meet somebody and they're panicking, right? They're stressed, they're anxious. The game's going to reflect back to you all these scenarios where you see they're turning the ball over. If you see somebody who's confident, who's poised, who can play with pace, and it's amazing how they just tend to just control the game. You know, John Wooden's famous quote is, "Be quick, but don't hurry." You know, when you're quick, you're efficient. You move with purpose. When you're in a hurry, that's when you're rushed, you're out of pocket, you make a bad decision. And I always say that's the game of basketball. So we can do all these drills, but, you know, as one of my mentors says, you know, bones are different than cones. Like we can do all these moves, but they're not going to do anything back to you. When you get on a court, it reflects back to you, man, are you a little chaotic inside? Are you anxious? Are you worried? Because we all know that, right? You see a kid get in the game, you can tell he's scared. You don't have to touch the ball. You know, you could just see it on them. And that's where the real development comes, is we got to deal with those issues. You know, it's reflecting back on the court what's going on.
Yeah, I love that, man. Any final thoughts before we get out of here, brother?
Yeah, I'd probably say my final thoughts is I would say first off, thank you, man, for this platform.
Thank you, man.
But the second thing I would say is I love looking at basketball and James Naismith like the story of Jesus' first miracle. When Jesus turned water into wine and they served it, everybody at the wedding feast thanked the wedding host. They didn't know the source of which it came from. And I look at basketball the same way. You know, every good gift comes from the hand of God. Basketball was given to us through James Naismith, and everybody in the world right now enjoys this blessing. They enjoy that wine. Now, they don't know where it came from, most of them, but that's the point. It's still a good gift that came from God. And I think that's the whole point of basketball, man. It brings people together. And ultimately, my goal is to help it bring people to God. So thank you, man.
Amen. Appreciate you, brother.
Yeah.
Phillip Morrison, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much, man.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you.
All right. We're out of here, guys.
Yeah.
Peace.